Hey folks, how you all doing? So I thought today I'd do a rankings video of the 10 studio albums by Australian rock band INXS. They actually released 12 studio albums, but only 10 during the lifetime of their charismatic lead singer Michael Hutchence. So I thought I would just do those 10. I'm not interested in a band that has other singers that have been brought in. This is the core of the band. This is the real band. So I thought I'd do this. Now, I've never actually really been a big INXS fan, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. Lynn is a big INXS fan. I managed to buy her this. She's got a load of their records on vinyl anyway, and I've got a few on CD. But I managed to get her this for a reasonable price for her birthday. Which includes all 10 LPs on vinyl. All remastered. A couple of them have got a couple of bonus tracks on, which weren't released on the original albums, which I'm not going to count anyway, but just overall the albums. So I started to listen to these albums one by one from the debut self-titled right the way up to their 10th album, Elegantly Wasted, and I listened to them 2, 3, 4 times, several times anyway. So I've got an idea about these albums, what I like about them, what I don't like about them, etc, etc. So I thought, this will be interesting, doing a studio albums ranking of INXS. Anyway, so I wrote down there, this is what got me to do it actually. I wrote down the album, made like a bar graph or a line graph, with the albums on the bottom line and where they end up ranking on my list. And look at the way they go. They seem to go up or down for a little bit, then back up and peak, and then they go down, and then they peak again, and then they drop down, and then they peak yet again. They're sort of like a, I don't know, they seem to get their mojo working for a bit, and then not so good, and then they get it back working again. So I thought, this will be interesting to see how their albums rank. So this is what I'm doing right now. As I said, Lynn's a bigger fan than me. I know people don't like INXS. I don't claim to be a big fan. Anyway, I thought I'd give this a go. So at number 10 on my list, we go for Full Moon, Dirty Hearts. This was their 9th studio album. It was released in 1993. This album has a heavier guitar-driven sound than most of their releases. Probably most of their releases except for Shabu Shabar, which was a bit more guitar-driven. I'd say it's probably influenced by the early grunge albums because it seems to have that sort of vibe to where it's dirty rock and roll. The album opens up. I'll give you an idea of what the tracks sound like on this album. So there's a Midnight Oil sort of vibe on the opening track. There's a Rolling Stones sort of vibe on the second track. The next track has a garage rock sound. The 4th track actually sounds like what you'd call classic INXS. The 5th track has soft-spoken vocals on it. So it has music but spoken vocals over the top, which is really clever. The 6th track features, believe it or not, Ray Charles on guest vocals. The 7th track features Chrissie Hynde on vocals. And so on. To me, this album is just too much of everything and not enough of what they should be doing. It's just a mishmash. It's a god-awful attempt to be all things to all people, and I just don't think it works at all. I really don't like this album. It's the only album of theirs I really don't like. If I wanted to give you a favourite track off the album or a standout track, it would have to be the song Please, which is the duet with Ray Charles, which is quite a good little rocker. Sorry, I'll get all this worked out by the time I get to the 2nd or 3rd album. Anyway, at number 9 on my list, we go for Shabu Shabar from 1982. This was their 3rd studio album. It's inconsistent. I dislike probably half of this album, but like or love the remaining tracks. Now you're going to hear that a lot from here on in, especially on the next 4 probably albums, that I dislike half of it but really love, you know, half of the album. They're just so consistent. It sounds like they're trying to develop their sound, which obviously doesn't come till their 4th album, The Swing, to get that signature sound. But they're sort of stuck in the alt new wave, but they're knocking on the door to get through it to be themselves with their own individual style. And oh, there goes Poppy. Yeah, here she comes. Poppy's coming. You want to come here, Poppy? Come on. No, okay. Anyway, back with it. They sort of sound like they're unsure about changing their sound by going forward on this album. Songs are average at best. The production sounds very murky and muddy to me. It might sound good to you, but it sounds murky and muddy to me, and I've got a fairly decent stereo system. Standout tracks are the ones that bookend the album for me, so the 2 singles, opening track, closing track, which is The One Thing and Don't Change. But I do like this album. Yeah. At number 8 on my list, we go to their 6th studio album, Kick. This was released in 1987. Can you hear Poppy drinking in the background there, slapping in a bowl? Go to their 6th album, Kick, which was released in 1987. This is one that really made them the international superstars that they are known for. They were popular with their previous 2 albums. The Swing started to get them there. Listen Like Thieves got them to that international level. This is the one that sent them into the stratosphere. Some 10 to 15 million album sales of this worldwide, half a dozen worldwide hits, 60,000 seat stadiums were being sold out across the globe on all continents. Again, there's 4 or 5 really great songs on here. There's a couple of good songs, and the remainder are just filler for me. But the album does contain my favourite ever song of theirs in Never Tear Us Apart. So let's go through the singles on this album. We had Guns in the Sky, we had New Sensation, Devil Inside, Need You Tonight, Mediate. That's the first 5 songs off the album. Then you go to side 2 and you've got Never Tear Us Apart, Mystify, and I think Kick was actually a single in some places around the world. But I mean, that's just incredible, the amount of hit singles they had off this album. But for me, the standout tracks are Never Tear Us Apart, Devil Inside, Mystify, and New Sensation. Again, overall, a fairly good album with some filler. I know INXS diehards are going to disagree with me about the filler, but you know, it is what it is. It's my ranking review. Next up, number 7 on my list, we go to The Swing from 1984. This was their 4th studio album. This is the album where they discovered their trademark dance/funk rock sound. I really love half this album and dislike the other half. The songs I love happen to be all the singles, which is strange because radio actually killed this for me for at least 12 to 15 months here in Australia. All we heard were the singles of this album, and it really killed it for me. So I'm surprised I've actually gone back and been able to really appreciate them again. So this is the album really where I thought of them as a great singles band but a lousy albums band, following Shaboo Shabar and this one, and it seems to run through again half their albums for me. Standout tracks for me: Burn For You, The Swing, Dancing on the Jetty, I Send a Message, and Original Sin, the major hits off the album. Number 6 on my list, we go to 1990 for their 7th studio album. That is X. The title X refers in Roman numerals to obviously the number 10. It's not their 10th album, obviously, it's their 7th. What it refers to is 10 years or a decade since their debut album. Couple of the tracks on here, in fact the opening tracks on side 2 lately. Sorry, track 2 and 3 on side 2, Who Pays the Price and Know the Difference. They've got a real Prince vibe to them. Really funky, really beaty, rocky stuff, but it just doesn't work. Those two songs just don't work for me, and I'm a pretty big Prince fan. I was never a fan of Suicide Blonde, which opens up the album. Never cared for it at all, but as an album opener it works well. It gives the listener a vibe to the majority of the sounds that are going to be happening on this album, so from that perspective it is a really, really good song. Again, half the album is filler for me, which is a shame, because when INXS are good, they are absolutely brilliant, but when they're bad, they really suck. That's just the way they are. It's a bit like when they're a live band, they either played absolutely great live sets or they were absolutely abysmal, you know. So same thing, they're either really good or really bad. Standout tracks for me: Disappear and By My Side and Hear the Sound. At number 5 on my list, we go to 1981 for their second album, Underneath the Colours. Don't you think that has a bit of a Split Enz vibe to it, that album cover? Anyway, this album is typical of the pop new wave sounds of that period, the very early 80s. The drums sound really tinny to me, almost like synthesizer sounding drum kits, drum machines. But Wikipedia says there was drums used on this album. It doesn't mention anything about drum machines, drum kits, synth drums, anything like that. So I find that really strange. It's obviously an issue with the engineering or the production of it. That said, I love the bass on this album, the bass guitar. It's pretty well center and front of the entire, of almost every track actually. It's very melodic, quite yeah, it's just melodic. It's just pleasant, really pleasant to have bass that is played really well at front and center of an album. I'm hearing bits of, as I was listening to this last time, I'm going, oh my god, that bit sounds like Thomas Dolby. That sounds, oh, that's a bit of an Adam and the Ants feel there, or a bit of Iran by Flock of Seagulls, that sort of vibe. So it's that whole early 80s new wave synth thing that was happening around 1980, 81. And you can hear it in this album. All these bands must have been influenced by each other. Now, it's not a great album by any means, but it is very good at what it does for the period it's set in. Standout tracks for me: Stay Young, Fair Weather Ahead, and Barbarian. I said I do like that album as well. Number 4 for me is their 10th and final album with Michael Hutchence. It's 1997's Elegantly Wasted. This album is a return to their so-called classic sound for this one. There's a distinct dirty, I don't want to say grungy, dirty, bluesy Rolling Stone sound on some of these tracks, and there's that dance, funk, rock sound that you expect from them as well. There's bits of, I guess, gospel pop, gospel rock, funk, and obviously there's the obligatory acoustic songs that you expect as well. I actually knew nothing about this album before I listened to it from this box set. Hadn't heard any songs off it, or don't remember any songs off it. So this was good. I had no preconceptions of what it would sound like, simply because I didn't know any of the singles or any of the songs at all. And this was a real good, pleasant surprise. Really, really good album. Actually love this album. Outstanding tracks for me: Everything, Girl on Fire, We Are Thrown Together, and Shake the Tree. Really, really good album. Really love that one. Next up at number 3 on my list, we go to 1984, the debut album, self-titled. Very typical of the year it was recorded in. It's new wave, you can hear that through and through. There's hints of ska through this as well, because of course you had that ska thing from the UK happening 79, 80ish, you know, Specials, Bad Manners, all those sort of two-tone groups, etc. The songs on here are quite simplistic lyrically. Musically, they're quite simplistic as well, but that's stereotypical of that era. It's more about the feel of the song and how it gets you up to dance, groove, whatever. So it does that really well. Being INXS and not having their sound is very quirky. When you're listening to it, you just don't realise it's INXS half the time, which is really good if you're really sort of not a big fan like me. You can get away with thinking it's not INXS at times, but yeah, it's quite quirky, kitsch, for want of a better word. There's still a couple of filler songs on this album, sadly, but the majority of it is really, really good, and at least half of it I do love. Standout tracks for me: Just Keep Walking, On a Bus, and Newsreel Babies. Number 2 on my list goes to their 8th studio album. This was released in 1992, and it's Welcome to Wherever You Are. Probably has one of the worst album covers for an album in rock history, in my opinion. I just cannot. I don't get this album. I do actually think there was another album cover, an alternative album cover for this, but I can't. I thought it might be a picture of it in the gatefold, but it's not. Pretty sure there was an alternative album cover in the US and Europe. Anyway, back to the album. This one comes in at number 2 for me. The album opens up with 2 tracks that sound nothing like INXS, so it just blows you away immediately with that. Whoa, wasn't expecting that. So yeah, that opens up with Questions, which is just sitar driven, absolutely brilliant. Doesn't even sound like Michael Hutchence singing it. Great album opener. And then we have a very good song called Heaven Sent, which has an early U2 vibe. Yeah, probably from their first 3, maybe 4 albums. It has that sort of U2 vibe to it for me anyway. And vocally, both these tracks I've just mentioned sound nothing like INXS. After those 2, it's back to the dance / funk rock that we would expect from INXS, and it does have the obligatory, as I mentioned on another album, obligatory, that's not a word I use very often, ballad or 2, which is what you expect. I really love half of this album and like the remainder of it a lot. So there's not even any filler on this album for me. So even the songs I do like potentially can grow in stature for me over time. This could quite possibly one day be my favourite album by INXS. Anyway, standout tracks for me include Questions, which is the sitar driven track, the opening track, Beautiful Girl, which was a single, Wish Him Well, and Strange Desire. Just an outstanding album by INXS, and one where they'd slipped at this stage. They were slipping, their albums weren't selling as well, etc. So yeah, a really good needle in a haystack, really. And that leaves one album for me as my number 1 album by INXS. We go to 1985, Listen Like Thieves. This is their 5th studio album, their absolute pinnacle for me. The sound was fully developed without sounding regurgitated or rehashed. I mean, they got their sound with their 4th album, The Swing, but they developed it further with this album. After this, they seem to go backwards and just go over the same ground again. But as I said, this was their pinnacle. It's well crafted pop rock songs, fabulous production and engineering throughout, and even a quite simple cover. You know, it's a very simple cover. It says what it has to say, and yeah, very good. On this remastered version, it doesn't sound much different to the original vinyl, which I have It just sounds a little bit clearer in places, but overall there's not much difference in sound, which just goes to show how good the production was back then in 1985. Absolutely no filler on this album at all. Of the, how many tracks have we got? Well, 6, 7, 11 tracks. I would say I probably love 7 of these tracks and really like the other 4, and that's the way it's always been with this album. Incredible album, and one of the best of the decade, i.e. the 1980s, in my opinion. Favourite tracks for me, let's go, or standout tracks: What You Need, the opening track; Kiss the Dirt, Falling Down the Mountain; This Time, 1 times 1. Let's go back to the title track, Listen Like Thieves. Yeah, just a great album from the 1980s. And even though I never used to like the band at all, this one always stood out for me. Anyway, guys, if you've listened to this and put up with it for 21 minutes, including a bit of a interruption from Poppy there, coming in and drinking her water. Well, sorry about Poppy, but yeah. Thank you very much for standing by and watching this. If you've got a rankings list, let me know in the comments section below how your INXS albums would rank. Are you even a fan of theirs? Let me know in the comments section below. Till next time, guys, because I've got a new channel here, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button down there. And hope to have you around for some more videos shortly. Until next time, guys, stay safe, take care. All for now. Catch you around, and bye, folks.